Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of And Rolling.
Woo, woo, woo. Huh, huh, huh.
That audio only is gonna sound really, really strange. I hope anyone watching will understand the context. Like anyone who's seen the movie will get it. If you haven't seen the movie, you're gonna be like, "What was that? What was that?"
In the movie, they worship. They had their arms up in the air and they touch their shoulders. They go
their chest.
ha, 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 ha.
That's what they do. But
Again, like breathing acting. You're welcome.
the
Okay, we're all gonna hate on the girl who put herself out there creatively.
very much like this film.
Mother Ann.
Oh my god.
She would be the one out singing "I Can Be Your White Kate Moss" tonight.
That is so funny. So,
But it's not funny.
so we saw the Testament of Anne Lee. Fun fact for everyone: we're actually filming this. We saw this before Dracula, but we're recording this after the Dracula episode.
To the point where I already thought we recorded this.
Yeah, like Maddie was like, "What?" We saw this movie a long time ago, and it was going to be our second January movie, and it just got away from me. So
yeah, we saw it January 25th.
honestly, this movie you might hear this one after Wuthering Heights.
I think it's Bad Bunny playing now.
Do you want to listen to Bad Bunny real quick?
Well, I don't want it captured in the bass. Let's pause.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go listen to Bad Bunny. We're also recording this during the Super Bowl, everyone, so it's kind of weird. Okay, everyone, we are back from Bad Bunny, so which they were listening to with a high bass volume. So it was, I think, getting into the cut, or if it wasn't getting into the cut, we felt like it was, so we stopped. But we're back now with the Testament of Anne Lee, of course. So, Maddie, do you want to summarize this movie for us?
Yeah. Okay, so Anne Lee is based on a real person, Anne Lee, who was born in Manchester.
Yep.
And she allegedly woke up to her parents doing it and didn't like it. And so was very averse to anything sexual. She encounters this group of shaken Quakers that dance and move.
The shaken Quakers.
In their in their religious ceremonies, and so she joins them, and she is really called to continue the message, and she starts preaching, which is a problem for a lot of people at that time. So she gets arrested, she goes to jail, she refuses to eat, she's just withering away.
She also she has 4 kids that all die at incredibly young ages.
Yeah, because she does get married to another shaking Quaker named Abraham, and he early on in their marriage is like, I found this book of sexual depravity on my apprentice, and he shows it to her, and it's like BDSM essentially, and he wants to try it.
Yeah, which is,
and she's like, I hate this.
Yeah.
Pretty
much
hates it. And and then they have 4 kids, and they all die in childbirth, and she's just really distraught.
She believes is a punishment from God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she then starts preaching. She goes to jail. In jail, she has a revelation that men and women shouldn't have relations. They should be celibate.
And the most important one, the revelation she has, is that she is
Jesus
God.
Christ. Yeah, she is because Jesus came as a man before, equal and opposite, whatever means that he's going to come back as a woman, and she is that woman.
Yeah.
And so they realize that it's too dangerous for her to stay where she is. They need to go to the Americas. So a small group of them travel on a ship that has been condemned, which I didn't know you could do.
Travel on a ship that's condemned?
Yeah.
Well, once you leave port, who's going to stop
It
you,
never really occurred to me.
You know?
But yeah. And
Yeah.
they make it to New York, and they're there for a little bit. She starts recruiting a couple people in New York, and they send the men off to go and find their homeland, essentially, like their new,
Yeah.
where they're going to build their commune. And at the same time, Abraham's like, have sex with me now or I'm not your husband anymore. And she's like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And so then he just kind of disappears. And there's
Well,
like a several year
no.
period. Hold on. We're going to get to that later in more detail.
Oh, okay, sure, because he doesn't just disappear, everyone.
Yeah,
Spoiler
but like
alert.
this spans years. So like they've been together but not sleeping together for years. And finally in New York he's like, I've had it enough of it. Like and then they move to the commune. They start, like, her brother is with her. She's got, like, 8 siblings. But, actually, in New York, they bring her niece with them when they travel. And her niece and, like, this, I don't know, ward of somebody or servant of somebody, they get caught.
It's the ward of the person who's funding them.
Yeah. They get caught doing the nasty in a chamber, like an outhouse, essentially.
I thought it was the stables.
Oh, whatever. Somewhere, like, kind of yucky.
Yeah.
And they get caught, and they're like, they want to get married. They don't want to follow our ways, and so they shun them.
Yeah.
And you never hear from them again. And they move to the commune, and they start sending Brother William out to go and evangelize, and people come. It's very attractive, I think, to mothers who have had a lot of children, especially at an early age. And also attractive to people who have died or like people who have almost died in childbirth, all this stuff. And
and there's also a lot of like doomsday preaching happening, and that doesn't come true, and people kind of join them after that because they're searching for some meaning of some type, you know?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Anne gets in trouble with the Revolutionary War fighters, the Patriots. She gets arrested. She comes back.
That's the British that she gets arrested by.
Oh, okay. She gets arrested.
Yeah.
She comes back later, and they go out and they preach again, and they're raided, and it's a really brutal, like, her friend loses an eye. She gets, like, assaulted.
Her brother dies.
Not right away, but yeah, he does die.
Yeah.
He gets, like, lashed, and then they get put in a wagon back, and she's singing to him, and he dies pretty soon after that.
Yeah.
And then she becomes kind of mentally unwell. She can't remember where it is or when it is, and she's always asking about her brother, and then she dies.
Mm-hmm.
And it follows kind of her death a little bit, like them preparing her for burial and the service, and then it ends with her 2 friends who followed her from Manchester. They're like the last 2.
Yeah.
Sitting by her coffin.
Yep. And the movie kind of ends.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have a phrase. It's like everything in its place.
Yes.
Something like that. Do you remember what it is?
I'll look it up.
I know. Yeah, look it up. But it's like she like uses it to like define like the simplicity of life, basically, because the Quakers are all about simple day-to-day routines, basically, and keeping life as easy as possible, basically.
A place for everything and everything in its place.
That's right. A place for everything and everything in its place.
This movie is very interesting. I mean, like, the subject matter is interesting, and then the way that they, like, I don't know, tell the story.
Yeah. Fun fact for everyone. I'm, like, into the Shakers, man. Like, I think that the Shakers are an incredibly fascinating sect of American religious life that is not studied enough as far as I'm concerned. And that's probably because they don't really exist anymore. Really. They technically do, but on a barely. As the movie mentions at the end, there are 2 of them officially, that are still in existence. But they have gained a member who will be a member officially in 5 years if she decides to stay. But they have to.
If the rest of them make it 5 years.
The one guy's like 60. He'll be he'll make it a little bit. But they need recruitment. I mean,
I did see some people who saw this movie and they were like, you know what? That doesn't sound too bad.
it might happen. It might happen. You
might.
never know. But yeah, as someone who's into the Shakers and kind of their theology a little bit, and I'm no Shaker expert by any means. I'm just like a casual Shaker enthusiast. I don't know how I would do another Shaker film other than this movie. This is like the Shaker film as far as I'm concerned, unless it's like a documentary about the day in the life of a Shaker, This is the Shaker movie.
Yeah. It's interesting in its construction because it's technically a musical. They use real Shaker music to like inspire songs that then are sung when they're worshiping or praying. And so the music doesn't really like propel the plot forward. It doesn't really inform you of how the characters are feeling, which is its function in a normal musical. This music gives you a taste of their religious fanaticism.
It's mystic and ethereal is how I would describe it. That's it's the actually, best description.
It's very pretty music.
Shaker music slaps.
Yes.
If you've ever
heard the "'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be, and when we find ourselves in our place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight."
Which true simplicity is gained.
To bow and to bend, we shan't be ashamed. Turning, turning will be our delight. So by turning, turning, we come round right.
Which is actually a lot of the Shaker theology.
I was gonna say the same thing. Like if you know the song and you listen to the lyrics, and then you're like, oh, her whole thing was everything has a place and everything in its place. That makes sense. And the turning.
The movement, the idea of moving expels sin and like coming down.
And like connects to the divine. Really, these people wanted a rave, but they lived in the 1700s. And that's the problem.
Yeah, that is the problem. They wanted a rave, and then the founding member was like, but hold on, it can't be slutty. like that's what was happening.
But like they get a reputation of being kind of weird because they dance and then they'll take off clothes because they're warm, and they won't get like super undressed. But even some of the dances that you see like with Anne Lee, especially in Manchester, they're all like touching each other. It does feel like a little sensual.
Yeah, and like the other thing is in historical accounts, I think this movie does a good job of showing like respect, and especially towards the end of like actual Shaker dances based off of like art and everything.
They get some wacky arm movements that were very fun to like try and do.
Yeah. Like from my understanding, that's how the Shakers did worship, because they don't really worship in the same way since it's just two of them. But
I could see that getting awkward fast.
Yeah, tell me about it, especially when you're not really supposed to cohabitate.
Yeah.
So, but you do get an idea of what it was like. But during the early days in Manchester, like apparently they were so loud that like the police get like noise complaints, and like it's like days on end, like again screaming.
It like sounds, I'm sure from the outside it sounds like a horrible like orgy.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
So it's this interesting thing where like what you see them doing does feel, again, sensual, but then they are it becomes less sensual the further they go on.
Yeah.
And
because
that
after her vision.
And that is in no small part because of Mother Anne. I mean, she has like I'm sure, and I know that we want to stay away from diagnosing people, but there's something there of like she must not have been straight. Like either she's gay or asexual or something, she made it everyone's problem.
Yeah, and like the other thing is, this is so history lesson for people who don't know, I guess. They are they are on the early stages of the First Great Awakening in America and like the English world, where it's these random rises of bizarre Christian sects that like pop up throughout American history.
As I have said many times, one of the downfalls of America today
Yeah.
is that when we said like freedom of religion, it meant that we got all of the weird cults that
Yes.
Europe expelled.
Yeah.
And so we're held hostage in a lot of ways because we had like our founding members, like big movements that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Were just people that were so weird that everyone else in Europe was like, you guys are freaks.
Yeah.
You're out of here.
And like you have
Pack
a lot
it
of
up.
you have a lot of people who like in Pennsylvania who are like, we need religious freedom because we have a lot of these weird people here and we don't want them to be discriminated. And like Quakers were in prominent positions in the Continental Congress and did not want to be discriminated against, which is fair, you know? I mean, like, I can't blame them, but like it led to this bizarre system that we have now of religious fervor that pops up.
And I was going to say, and like,
Like-
I don't think that religion and religious freedom is wrong. I don't want anyone to think that I'm like,
No.
we shouldn't have it. I just mean that like, when you're comparing kind of like the way that religion intersects with our government, and you're like,
Yes.
well, why can't we be more like, why can't we separate those two things in the way that we've seen other countries in the
Yeah.
Western world do that? And it's because we had all the fanatics.
Yeah.
All of the fanatics were expelled from Europe and they came here.
Yeah.
And,
And
like
there's-
and
and-
like I'm in some ways speaking of
Mhm.
my own heritage because the Brethren were expelled from Germany.
The Brethren are Anabaptist, and you could make the argument that the Shakers are a version of Anabaptist.
Yeah, we're not like, because the Brethren are close to Quakers in a lot of ways. We're
Yeah.
not far off in
The-
some respects,
a
but then
lot
in
of-
other respects we're very far off.
A lot of the religious, the Shakers take celibacy to an extreme. Like
Oh, it's like,
they're very strange when it comes to that. Like, it's actually a very core tenet of them. Like, they call it the 3 C's. It's like celibacy is like literally number 1, and it's like, and the 2 others are like basically whatever. But like celibacy is the most important one.
yeah, and again, it's like she didn't enjoy it and made it everyone's problem.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think that though in this time there is a lot of freedom
Mm-hmm.
by having that, and it is really radical that a woman is preaching that, because like
Yeah.
in marriage, I mean, even now in a lot of places, and like with I think there was a law passed during Clinton's time that defined like marital rape, but then it kind of fell like expired or something. I whatever. I don't know
remember.
all those specifics. I don't
Yeah.
remember. But like there's not a lot of like, historically there's no agency given to women inside marriage.
Yeah, and this movie, I think this movie does a pretty decent job of explaining that, and like, I think this movie does a decent job of explaining that. But also, you're talking about a religious sect that is generally quite progressive. Like, Anabaptists are quite progressive. Like, they believe, like even the Shakers believe in like equality for all, which is like very radical for the day, and like
I want to
peace
just
and
say
stuff
that
like that.
I want
you
to
know?
be, yeah, yes. Some Anabaptists are very progressive. Not all. I
True.
would say like let's not paint with bold strokes here or broad strokes, because that's not fully true.
But this is the issue that you brought up before, though, where it's like there's so many wacky religious sects that it's like, how do you it's difficult to not talk with broad brush, because it's like, well, this
Sure,
thing is slightly different from this one.
I'm just speaking from experience that not every Anabaptist, even within my own like religious
true.
upbringing, is progressive.
Yeah.
There are many, and I think this is where in some way it's such a duality, because like on the one hand there's like literal purity culture in the Shaker movement, because you can't have sex. You can't have sexuality. It is, Anne Lee believes that it's this like sin. That's the biggest sin that we can do. And you have to go against your own desires. And that's where you find piety.
Yes.
But then on the other hand, they do believe in equality of gender. It's just like very separate and segregated.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
it's this interesting duality. And you see that even in like, in my experience with Brethren today, of like, there's a lot of purity culture. And
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily look like Jonas Brothers purity ring, purity ball kind of thing.
Yeah.
But just like modesty and purity are, especially like the idea of modest living, and that can be very repressive.
The modest living thing is interesting. And I think that this is why the Great Awakenings are so interesting, is because it's like small splinter groups that disagree on random things but are very fundamental to other religions, you know?
Well, I wanted to kind of,
I don't
sorry.
know. It's just interesting to me.
It is,
the Great
and I wanted to
Awakenings
like jump off of that.
Yeah.
And be like, something that was interesting to me and maybe a little troubling about this film was that everyone who joined her had some sort of like taboo secret, either outright or implied. It kind of felt like,
Yeah.
because her friend who's played by Thomasin, is it Mackenzie?
Yeah.
Which is
That's her niece. Or is that her friend?
No, it's her friend.
That's her friend. Yeah.
And like, frankly, the the duality of this actress, the last thing we saw her in was Fackham Hall, and then this. It's like, girl,
she's
what?
So much better than
I know.
a lot of. I'm like, what is your career?
I hope
like
she
right
made
now?
money on Fackham Hall, but I don't think she did.
No, I don't think so either.
Anyway, it seems to me like, and like I saw a lot of speculation online that like people were thinking that she's gay. Brother William is outright gay. Like, we see him say goodbye to his lover after Mother Ann says, and by the way, he calls her Mother Ann even though they're sister and brother.
I think it's a title of respect.
I know it is, but it's weird.
Yeah.
He says goodbye to his lover after she says that they're going to America and they can't be with people anymore.
Yeah.
The young man who ends up being one of the survivors after she dies, it's him and her friend Mary, who's played by Thomasin. Initially she meets him because at the Shaking Quaker meeting, he stands up and says that he's attracted to his adolescent sister. And the group absolves him of sin. Yeah,
they're very old Christian. I mean, like first century Christian, of like, you need to publicly announce your sins. Like, kind of.
Yeah. It's also a way of keeping everything insular. Like, if everyone knows everything, you can't really leave the group because then these people know about you.
Yeah.
They know things that you wouldn't want other people to know. But I thought it was kind of interesting. I don't remember if like the old man has any sin that we know about.
He hides money from them.
Oh.
That's the whole thing. They're like, why didn't you bring up that you had money earlier? And he said, I didn't want to bother anyone with it, basically.
Yeah. But so it's interesting to me that the cast of characters who she begins this religion with are all either implied or like assumed or outright quote unquote deviant in that society for one way or another. And I especially find it interesting that like the guy taught the incest pedophile, essentially.
Yeah.
No one ever has a problem with him.
No.
And like, it's basically forgotten as soon as it's said.
Well, and as soon as they start their celibacy thing, it's like a non-issue all of a sudden. It's just like, well, we're never going to do that. So
it's a non-issue beforehand.
It is a non-issue beforehand. And like,
which since we've seen this movie, every time I've thought about it and like thought about what I wanted to talk to you about with it, this has come up where I'm like, I'm not really sure what the filmmakers meant.
Do you think that it has to do with like a radical forgiveness sort of a thing?
That's my only assumption. But even so, and like, I think that that's probably what they meant.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they don't initially show other married people buying into it. Like, they've got the two leaders of the Shaking Quakers who don't follow her to America, and
Yeah.
they said that they've been living celibate for years anyway, and there's like a big age difference. So you kind of feel like there's something there where like they've got an understanding of some sort.
Yeah.
And again, they're on the outskirts of society as it is because they're the Shaking Quakers and they get put in jail all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's just interesting to me that the filmmakers who seem so invested in showing what like an interesting, radical, charismatic figure Mother Ann is, they don't give her like normal followers. Do you know what I mean? When I say normal, I just mean like,
maybe they give her real followers in a sense. You know what I mean? Like,
I guess my thing is, it seems to me like they're almost saying like no one in a heteronormative marriage at that time was following her up until the Americas.
yeah, I see what you're saying. Maybe that's them saying that like you were saying earlier, they're outside of society. Like, these people aren't accepted within society, so therefore they find a sort of meaning with her.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe.
I mean, and the other thing, is everyone that went with her abroad was illiterate. So there's not really anything that we know about them except for word of mouth and third party like records, basically.
And who's to say that any of this is real? I guess what I'm getting at is I think it's interesting from the filmmaker perspective that these are the backstories they chose to give the people and the backstories they chose to show for the people that follow her.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm trying to say.
I understand.
Less about like what was real, but more about like what was their intent with showing us that William's gay, with telling us that the dude is a pedophile who wants to be with his young sister. Like, and what is that point?
And the other thing is, it's like we don't learn about her other siblings at all, really.
That was shocking to me that they make a big deal about it right at the beginning because we get narration from her friend Mary,
who talks like this the whole time.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the notes that I have is accents, ?
Let me tell you about the Mother Ann that we love so much.
The accent
the
work
coming of Christ.
The accent work in this movie was shoddy at best.
It was unique.
Amanda Seyfried, love her. She can do no wrong in my eyes, but she got close.
She got
close to doing wrong.
She would also sing in an incredibly American accent.
I just learned that apparently they sang live for this movie, which is crazy.
I told you I thought they were singing live because it didn't sound right. I said that, and you were like, it was clearly studio recorded. You said that.
I think maybe the backups are studio record. Like, I could see that.
Yeah.
Like, that would be just so hard to get a good mix of voice parts.
Yeah. And some of them I am like, how did we do it live? But I don't know.
Anyway, I guess I'm just sort of like, I question in some ways the thesis of this movie, because clearly they find her interesting, but it didn't seem like there was a big like point to anything. And then where they made points, I was like, but what are you trying to say?
I don't think they were really trying to say anything. I think that this was truly like a dramatized documentary in a lot of ways is what they were trying to do. And a dramatized historical documentary is what the goal was.
That's fair.
And like to introduce to the masses this religion, basically, is what they were trying to do. And they're not even like, they're not believers at all really in it. I think they just were like, this is an interesting period of history.
Right. And it's where we get like a lot of American craftsmanship comes from them, like the shaker cabinets and like chairs and windows.
Like 70% of American designed furniture is like originally designed by Shakers. Or
which
something
is just
like
crazy.
That. Yeah, like all of the like wicker designs that you see, Shakers. It's all Shakers.
They were doing a lot. They're doing hey, we know what they weren't doing. and what they weren't. They were spending their time doing other things.
They had a lot of time to make those baskets.
Lot of time.
Lot of time to make those baskets.
I actually, though, all that said, I did like the movie. I thought it was
I thought this movie was
interesting.
amazing.
Yeah, I know. You were very much into this movie.
I'm really into this movie. Yeah.
Well, speak.
No, I just like, and I really enjoy this. I like how the songs were Shaker hymns, and I like how they redid them and everything. And like, even like I've been listening a lot to Hunger and Thirst, like the rendition of it.
Oh yeah.
Because I think that it's really interesting. I really love the lyrics. Like, it's basically them just repeating over and over again, I hunger and thirst, I hunger and thirst, and something like, and they just keep going on with that. And then it goes into this thing, and they're like, and it's like, I've been overcome by the revelation of your righteousness. Like, feed me, I'm hungry. Enrich me, I'm poor. Like, this, like, simple phrases that mean a lot and, like, cross a lot of religious boundaries as far as I'm concerned. Like, if it's like you believe in a higher power, you could say that about any religion. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Almost. And it's very interesting how they like capture a religious tone, and how they capture a religious tone and feeling. Like the music does a great job at making you feel
there's a
ethereal.
buzzing. There's a buzzing in a lot of the songs.
Yes.
Like the one that comes to mind for me is the one where they're like dun 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 dun, whatever that one is, and it's a lot of like humming and just
it's just chanting,
getting you get the, again, like they would love a rave. They would love a clothes on rave.
Clothes on, separate spaces rave.
Well, girl, in the first couple ones back in Manchester, it was not separate spaces.
Well, that's the way it was during the early days. Apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
She was very much like, no.
Yeah. Well, she's persecuted so much that they just start to believe her blindly in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I think, too, the other song that and sequence that I just thought was so well done. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, there's two. I really loved On the Ship, when they're like, all is comfort. Dun,
dun, dun, dun, dun. And they do the thing with the hands.
Yeah, and they're like on the ship deck, and it follows them through the seasons, because it takes like several weeks, and it's snowing, it's raining, it's sunshiny. I mean, it is. I thought that was one of the most interesting sequences. And then the other one that I really liked is when they're in the Shaker house and Anne's in the middle, and they're doing or maybe this is after she's died, and they're doing the circles.
Oh, the diamond one.
Yes.
Oh, I thought that was so good,
stunning.
And I like the choreography, because it's they have their hands
out, but
and
they're all
it's 2 step forward, 1 step back, 2 step forward, 1 step back, and they're going in the circle like penguins.
Yes, it looks so visually satisfying and just like, whoa. Yeah. Those two sequences for me, I was just like, I'm in it. Mm-hmm. This movie, I kind of ebbed and flowed with it. Mm-hmm. There were parts where I was like, all right, slow. And then there was one part that was just kind of silly, which is where the old man has his hand and he's like pointing at where they should go, and he's like he's running after his own hand. It felt like something out of a Disney movie.
Because basically what happens is he's praying, and there's an Irish man, air quotes on that, or a Dutchman.
A Dutchman.
It's a Dutchman who's clearly Irish. And is like, but there's a Dutchman who leads them up the Hudson, basically, to where they're supposed to go. And basically this old man starts praying, and because they pray obnoxiously, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Again, it's like,
yeah. And he's like, stop. And the guy gets really mad at him. And he's like, Lord, forgive me. I should not have gotten mad.
Yeah, and he's like out loud saying like, Lord, forgive me. I lost my temper at this dumb man, and I should have been better because he is dumb.
And basically, he prays all night and has a religious experience where his hand has been like taken by an angel, I guess, in his words, and is like has been like, is being controlled and is now pointing to where they need to go.
And so he's like running after his hand, and then the other two guys are like bounding after him. But again, it's just very like silly the way that they've shot it and edited it together. It's very cartoony.
Yeah.
So that part was just such a weird, in the way that we've in our last episode talked about Count Dracula and the dance sequence there being like a fun campy addition. This felt very out of place because there's nothing campy about the rest of this at all. And that was just like, okay, like it was funny.
Yeah, it was
I
funny.
liked it. But I was like, this doesn't fit the rest of the movie in any way, shape, or form.
No, it doesn't. You have notes, I know.
I do. We've gotten through a lot of them. I wrote down that I overall really enjoyed it, but it was a weird film. I liked the narration bit, and they cut it up into chapters, and they had like woodblock carving print title cards, and I enjoyed all of that. And I thought that the aesthetic for it really worked. Like, there's a lot of color kind of in the beginning, and it, even though it's like grimy and it's Manchester, so it's dirty and like there's dust everywhere and like fibers from the looms and whatnot floating around, you still have color. And then I feel like as you get to the Americas, it gets bleaker, even though it's like simpler because they've kind of gotten on their mission, they know what they're about, but it does get like progressively more muted. And there's some great prosthetics in this one too. Because she looks like ragged by the end.
I do have one thing about the prosthetics. One time they had a close up of Mary, Thomasin McKenzie's character, and you could see the contact in her left eye.
Yes.
I was like, okay, guys, come on. Like,
yeah, we needed like just a little smoothing there.
Yeah. I was like, ugh.
So, as I said, we were going to talk about the husband. So, again, Abraham, he's a freak, but he's a freak in a religious way. Again, America accepted him open arms. Because he, as I said, he was like he brought home this book that he, quote, found on his apprentice, unquote.
Yeah.
And it's a little like BDSM-y, it's a little Christian Grey, but also it's religious. Like, the woman has to like recite the sins of Eve as he like smacks her ass, essentially.
It's so weird.
And she's just clearly not into it. Also, he really wants her to go down on him.
Yes.
He says it like over and over and over again. And then finally in the Americas, when he's like, if you won't sleep with me, you're no longer my wife, he brings in a sex worker and is like, if you won't sleep with me, she will, and she'll be my wife. And when Anne's like, no, like... he says, he basically is like, blow me. And the girl does, because she's, and so you like see them in the background. And I just thought that he was the equivalent of the so no head Vine.
It's so true. That is so true. He literally, dude. Literally. That's really funny.
Yeah. And I had that thought in the theater. I was like, this is just this.
Also,
and so
the people who we
audience,
saw this
and
with.
that was my
okay. Good.
Down.
Yeah.
Okay, and so when we saw this movie, as always, if you don't know this about us, we stay until the end of the end credits, and that's not because
Unless
of a Marvel
we really
thing.
Just don't care about the movie.
That's only happened maybe once. I grew up where you stay to the end. I make Matthew stay to the end.
I grew up to where you stayed to the end.
Perfect.
So.
We both grew up staying to the end. We stay to the end. The audience in this movie, they got up. Oh, I have an addendum to the Dracula movie, but we'll get back there.
Yeah.
The audience in this movie, they're getting ready to leave. We're watching the end credits, and this girl goes, "I knew that he was gonna leave her because she wouldn't sleep with him," and it took everything in my body not to call her stupid to her face. I was like, of course he was going to leave. Like, yeah, that like, all this conversation about media literacy, and I'm like, girl, yeah, like you're
No
basically reading the page,
yeah,
and you're acting like you've figured something out. I don't know how the people that she was with weren't like, yeah, no shit. They hyped her up as if she had figured something crazy out.
Yeah, they were like, wow, yeah.
I was embarrassed for you, whoever you were.
Also, the amount of people that were like, I had no idea that this was a real thing. I was like,
That's like the same people who saw Hamlet and were like, that's about William Shakespeare?
No, have you seen the TikTok?
Ugh.
Have you seen the TikTok where it's like, I wish they would have said that it was about, like, there was a tweet where it's like, I wish they would have said William Shakespeare instead of the name drop, like it was some, and then surprise us at the end. And it's like, and it cuts to a guy and he's like, I'm going to my job at the Globe Theater for my acting career. And it's like, and then
For
it's
my
like,
playwright dreams.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm writing a story about my son, Hamnet, at the Globe in London for a play. Like, it's like, and it's like, I'm about to jump off of a cliff and I'm reciting things from a play I'm writing. Like, it's like, dude.
Yeah, I didn't see that one exactly, but I've seen many like it. And yeah, it is like, do you need me to beat you over the head with things? Like,
Yes.
How far have we fallen? Oh, it drove me crazy. I did hold it in. I didn't. I wasn't mean to this person to their face. I saved it for the car ride home.
Saved it for the podcast.
And for you lovely people.
Yes.
Because I'm sure you would never say anything so stupid.
If you think you would, you can do better. I know you can.
Yeah, we believe in you.
That's why you're listening to this podcast.
I will also say the AMC at Woodfield Mall
in Schaumburg, Illinois,
is the nastiest, skankiest, grossest AMC I have ever set my little foot in.
Which
I
is
was
crazy because
horrified.
I
thought I had seen Rock Bottom. I thought I had seen Rock Bottom for an AMC, and no. The bathroom smelled so heinous. I had to take a picture of one of the toilets to show Matthew because there was literally like a diarrhea splatter
also
on this toilet. It was horrifying.
Yes. Sorry, I'm interrupting. But it relates to the toilets.
That's really all I had to say. It was disgusting.
It relating to the toilets, because I also wanted to bring this up. There was a gentleman, and I'm going to out this guy because I don't care, but it's crazy. There was a guy where I just drank way too much water before we saw this movie, and I was like, "Babe, I gotta use the restroom." Like right after
and I
we
said,
finished
"Good
the
luck," because I had gone beforehand, and I was like, "This is
I
penis."
sprinted to the restroom, went, peed, finished. I washed my hands and was done, and it took me a normal amount. This guy was at a constant stream from before I got in and after I left. I was like, buddy, and it wasn't powerful, but it was consistent. It was not dribbles.
Dudes be peeing. What do you want to say?
Doing?
I don't know.
It just blew my mind. I was like, how are you still going?
So we don't know what's going on at the Woodstock AMC. If you work there, we would love to get in touch with you. You must have horror stories.
And then someone even when we were coming in, they bought tickets and then their kids were behind them and they're like, did you actually buy tickets? And they're like, yeah, we bought tickets. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I didn't understand what was going on. I was just like, have we been to the movie theater before?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the women's restroom was maybe the worst women's restroom I've ever used in my entire life.
Wow, worst women's restroom ever?
Actually, no lie, I think that might be true. Wow. Because I only took a picture of one toilet, but Matthew, when I tell you that I walked by 10 toilets and they were all like that, it was like they had a serial diarrhea person just going and in each toilet. It was shocking. It was shocking, and it smelled so bad. It's
tragic.
I was peeing and I was like, gonna vomit.
Ew.
Sorry, I hope we didn't gross any of you out.
They can skip. They have free will. So, you had one more. Did you have another note?
Yes. Yes, I did.
What?
I think we're bringing back a throwback to anyone who, this is not my first foray into movie debrief, movie criticism, movie analysis. Real fans, day one fans will remember Maddie at the Movies, which was a blog that I ran.
Yeah, you did.
A precursor to this, because really, I want to do the blog.
Whose domain we don't own anymore.
Okay, why would you announce that? Now someone's going to snap it up.
Whose domain we totally own.
We totally own.
Yeah.
I would write about these movies. I would go and see them. I would take notes. I would come back. I would write about them. And Matthew was always like, these are so good. And then we talk about it. And he's like, I just really want to like record our conversations. And thus And Rolling was born.
Yeah, pretty much.
But a feature of Maddie at the Movies was rating the end credits.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought you'd have something to say there, but I guess not.
What would you rate them?
Well, just to say that I really liked these end credits.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were very good and very original. And since we've done the podcast, I actually haven't seen an end credit that I thought was worth mentioning. So, you know,
that's true, actually.
I was just like, hey, these are good end credits. And I wanted to like let everyone who listens to the podcast know that that's like an important thing for me that we haven't gotten to talk about yet.
Yeah.
Is I love a good end credit. I think an end credit, like a title sequence, people kind of understand it's setting the tone for your movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think the end credit is just as important. It's also, you know, finishing the tone of your movie. And so there's so much that you can do. And kind of the gold standard, I think, for end credits is Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves.
Wow, that's your gold standard?
Dude, do you remember those end credits?
Yeah, I do.
They were crazy.
Fair enough.
Loved them. And I thought this one was pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. I like them a lot, and the design was very original.
Yes.
For them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The what would you rank the? Do you have other notes, or did you want to rank?
I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm curious what you thought about the narration. Like, did that work for you? It worked for me.
Yeah, it worked because they just had to convey information, like information generally about her, and also it kind of set the tone as if you were like being preached to.
Yeah.
You know?
And
so
it was
worked
a woman
in the context,
telling it, which I think.
Yeah, that's true. Which works in the context of the movie a lot.
Yeah.
Oh,
I guess I should say one of the things that I really liked about the end credits is they went through the different communes for Shakers.
Yeah.
And they told you when the heyday was and what their max population was.
Yeah.
And so you kind of get the sense of this like swelling movement and then dwindling. And then it ends with like there are currently 2 Shakers living in Maine.
The Industrial Revolution was not kind to the Shakers, honestly. Not in the sense of like it took them out of jobs or anything, but like they just really didn't gain any followers after that.
And it's also like as we become a more like sexual society, that's a
tough sell.
That's a tough sell.
Well, not only that, but also like people's quality of life generally improves as their wages go up and stuff like that, and that was kind of happening during that time period. There was a lot of movement and urbanization towards the cities, and like that doesn't bode well for a utopian society out in the woods where it's like, hey, give up all the cool shit in the city, you know, as well.
Yeah.
And like your life is getting better, but I don't want you to have indoor plumbing actually, you know? And it's like, whoa.
Do they not have indoor plumbing?
I'm sure they do now, but like at the time they didn't, because they would build everything by hand.
Well, right. I knew at the time, but
Yeah.
like I was curious if the 2 people that are living it, 3 people living it now.
I think they have indoor plumbing now. I think because there's the Friends of the Shaker Society out in Maine. The only community left is in Maine, and we could visit. Side note, babe. But there's the Friends of the Shakers who are like people who help them as like a volunteer organization.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Because they're old. They need help.
Right. Yeah, they're all really old, except for the newest member who's like 50, which is relatively speaking young in this movement.
Yeah.
So, well, and like they used to have a third member and then he fell in love with a woman and left. Like back in like 2010 or something like that. I mean,
good for him.
Right.
Go get her, kid.
Go get her. Go get her. But yeah, the other thing I liked about this movie is it brought in like some people might be wondering, how do you gain followers so quickly and everything? Like they took in orphans and they show that in the film.
Yeah, and again they show kind of the appeal for women.
Yes.
And how this was like a really appealing.
Yeah. They do
sect when you have no other kind of autonomy, and childbirth is so harsh and dangerous.
Well, and they also, like, because they do show, like, people where it's like, oh, they're widowed now, and it's like, what are you going to do? You know, and this is an answer.
Yeah.
And
in the way that, like, nunneries have always been kind of an answer for people in that position.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of orphans, the only reason they were able to maintain their numbers is because they basically were a de facto orphanage where people would leave children at their doorstep, or they would take orphans from overcrowded orphanages, and, like, they wouldn't kidnap them or anything, but, like, you know, they would take them in and look after them. And then when the kids turned 18, they were like, do you want to leave or stay? And the problem for a lot of these kids was, it was like, I don't know anything, because they live on this farm. And so it's like they stayed, and, like, that was their life, because they didn't, it's like, yeah, just go out into the world and you don't know anyone. And in that sense, it's kind of like a cultish thing, you know? I wouldn't say they're a cult in the sense of they're forcing anyone to stay, but they were definitely a cult in, like, you're separating yourself from society, for sure. You know, I
mean, I definitely think that there's
elements of a cult.
There's cult.
There is cult.
There's cult.
Yeah. And well, yeah, and Anne Lee herself, I think, is like. And I think the other thing is, like, you see the evolution. The other interesting thing is you see the evolution of their theology a little bit throughout the movie. Like, she never explicitly says that she is the daughter of God, I guess, for a lack of a better term.
Yeah, that doesn't really come up.
Until the very end, before they get raided, when some children come up to see her, and she goes, you know how Jesus, you know, God is your father and Jesus is your sibling. I'm your sibling too, is what she says.
Yeah, and I think that that's also a good indication, though, where, like, the cult comes in, because these kids are like, she makes them call her mother,
yes.
And then they have to call their actual mother's sister, whatever their names are.
Yeah.
And that feels not great, truthfully. Yeah. And it does end up feeling like this woman's so traumatized by losing her children. She's, like, forcing no one else can be a mother because she can't. Which is an odd take as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I don't know much about her, so maybe that is kind of like, maybe there's writing or whatever. But we know she's illiterate. Like, that's the big secret that Abraham has, that he's like, I'll tell everyone. And she's like, okay, I'm still not going to have sex with you.
Yeah.
You can tell my deepest, darkest secret, and I still don't want you.
Yeah, and he even says it. He's like, how can this continue when you don't have any writings? And in some ways, he's right. Like, there's not a lot. Like, Shaker theology is oral, and you know, the the double whammy there. But it's like an oral tradition, and like a lot of Shaker hymns, even a lot of Shaker hymns are lost because it was passed down by teaching it to someone else. And they also have a unique form of, like, they would come up with different ways of writing down music because they didn't know how to write music. And so they would make their own ways of doing it, and people just don't know how to read it. So what are you going to do? Because it's not the traditional, like, staff line music stuff. So
I agree.
Yeah. So what do you rate it? Like, what would you rate the movie?
I think an 8.
It's like so I was like, oh man, I feel like it might be an 8, but I think for me it's a 9. I really like this movie because I'm like, I don't know how you could do it better. And it's exactly what I wanted. It was exactly what I wanted. When I found out it was a musical, I saw people being like, oh, get ready. I was like, no, that makes sense. I was like, that makes sense. Like, I was all in. When I was like,
pure cinema.
When I heard that there was a movie about Anne Lee, period, I was like, I'm in. When I learned that it was a musical, I was like, absolutely.
The thing that you guys aren't seeing is he's doing the Martin Scorsese absolute cinema hands. Like,
I really am. Yeah.
Move over, Ice Age. There's a new sheriff in town.
But I think it was really good, and I think people should see this movie.
It was. I think too. It taps into some Americana
Yeah.
that isn't often like
Yeah.
looked at.
I
It's just
think
it's interesting.
Yeah, it's like there's this movie that I really like. What is it called? Hold on. This is the movie. There's a movie that I really like about Jehovah's Witnesses from an ex-Jehovah's Witness called Apostasy. That movie is a little bit different because it's by an ex-Jehovah's Witness, so there's a little bit of insider knowledge
And there's
on
an
it.
agenda there.
There is
for
an agenda
sure.
there for that one, for sure. But it's kind of the same vibe a little bit, and also that movie's British as well.
Ooh.
But what?
Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah, the Jehovah's Witness are another Great Awakening religion that they are a cult. There is no dispute there.
There's a couple that live down the road.
I know there are, and there's some that live in the neighborhood, down the street because they have the jw.org thing on their window.
Yeah.
They're
They're everywhere.
But the and
You know what freaks me out? They do their little like stand where it's like free Bible class. Whatever.
Yeah,
but they don't actually talk to you. They just stand there, and I'm like,
there's probably a reason for that, but
sure. But I find it really actually like some ways creepier that they're just like
I would argue
standing there.
I would argue that
watching you.
the reason that's happening is because there's Jehovah's Witnesses, especially younger Jehovah's Witnesses who were born into it, who can't leave because they'll be shunned. And there's an understanding, and they just do it so that they can get hours in and like be like, look, I'm they have a word, they have a term for it.
Like I know part of that.
Yeah.
But then I do see a lot of older people too, and they just stand there staring at you.
Yeah.
It's creepy.
Well, and like the Jehovah's Witnesses are
and I've never actually seen them talk to anyone. Like no one is ever going up to them being like, "Oh yeah, let me see your free Bible class." Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I never see them talking to anyone. They
Yeah.
just stand there. I see them at the train all the time because I commute a lot now.
Yeah.
And they're at the train both when I leave from our town and when I get into Chicago.
Yeah.
And they're at both ends, but they're never talking to anybody. And then I see them around other places too.
Yeah.
Like today we were in the city and we saw probably 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. Yeah.
And again, they don't talk to anyone.
No, one did say hi to me, but it's one of those things where I don't want to engage because even though I would like a copy of the Watchtower, because it's like if you engage, then all of a sudden they think they have an in, and then they start using terminology and dog whistles and all of this stuff, and like
yeah, I'm also notoriously mean when
Yeah.
people come to my door peddling religion.
yeah,
And I know I should be nicer because I know that like for some of them this is their only time interacting with the outside world,
mhm.
and you know,
but
they get under my skin.
Yeah. And but the witnesses, but anyways, that movie is interesting because it gives you an interesting perspective. For me, I kind of feel like this movie would be like if someone was like I'm going to make a movie about the Buddha and I'm not a Buddhist. You know, that's kind of like what this movie is, in my opinion.
And I'm so sure that someone has made that movie.
Well, I don't know of it.
Yeah,
You know
I'm
what
not
I mean?
saying it's
And
that we've seen
and like
it,
also
but-
it's not a documentary as well. But and like still has the same like vibes and everything. But that's kind of what I feel like this is, you know.
It's what's interesting too is the people who made this are the same people who made The Brutalist.
Yeah, which I guess kind of makes me want to see The Brutalist a little bit more.
No, I still have no interest.
Like the only reason I have interest in seeing it is because people were like, "It's good," and I'm like, "Okay," but like the story itself, I really don't care.
3 hours? No.
Yeah, it's long too.
You can miss me with that.
It is long. Yeah. But anyways, that's my take on it. And like if it's an interesting religion to look into, and I highly recommend doing, like, I think people should learn about different sects of religion and how they form and what happens, because I think it informs a lot about society and psychology.
And specifically America, specifically right
Yes.
now, when
Yeah.
we're like in the middle of, in some ways, another great religious cult movement.
I would argue, some people have argued that George Bush was like the fifth Great Awakening, and I really would disagree with them, and I think that this is the fifth Great Awakening.
I think we're in another great,
Yes.
for sure we're in one now. I
Yeah.
can kind of see where people might say that, because there was a lot of like
Evangelism and
yes
stuff in like the Westboro
yeah
Baptists and
but
stuff.
I
yeah.
also I think that was just the precursor to now, which is the next Great Awakening.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's frankly terrifying to live through this. I'm not
Yeah.
enjoying my time.
Yeah. And I think that the other thing is, like, when people hear the Great Awakening, I think they think that there's like mass conversions and stuff. Like, you're talking about small groups of people doing crazy, wacky things.
Right.
And it's just a lot of
and
different
in some
ones.
ways getting power.
Yes.
And that's what we're
Well, like the Mormons are part of the second Great Awakening.
Oh, and don't get me started on the Mormons.
And
frankly.
but Joseph Smith wanted to be president of the United States and
Right.
like turn America into Mormon, like a Mormon theocracy.
Yeah.
And like Desiree existed in theory for a while when Brigham Young started it, and that was a Mormon theocracy.
Right.
You know.
And yeah, there's there is a lot there.
Right. Well, and you have the curtain of God in the bars, which is still law in Utah, which is hilarious.
There's a lot about Utah that I think is like very incredible. Not even think. I know is incredibly problematic, and
Yeah.
and the way that in a lot of ways the country is held hostage by groups like the Mormons is upsetting.
Yeah.
And
Well,
like it's not like we're not getting anywhere.
and
Anti-progressive, I guess.
And like I think people should look at the 2016 election and specifically look at Utah, because there was a third-party candidate that ran and he almost won Utah, like by a not insignificant amount. And I think his name was Evan Bayh or something like that. And he was a Mormon who was like, the Republicans have lost their way, I'm going to run a third-party campaign. And it was specifically targeted at Mormons. Like, that's weird, man. That's really weird. Like, he got a third of the vote.
Well, the other thing about the Mormons that are very interesting is the way that social media and Mormonism have become very intertwined.
Yes.
Because Mormons have this like kind of call to evangelize without, I mean, obviously they have a call to evangelize very openly, because they like, you have the Book of Mormon, like, hello, my name is Elder Price, and I would like to share with you the most amazing book. And you got that, right? But then you also have this call to like promote the Mormon lifestyle. And so a lot of these influencers are Mormon.
Yeah, and it's like that soda shop.
Exactly. And I was going to say, and I, having lived in Indiana, I was shocked at how much Indianapolis to me felt like Mormon coded, because the Mormon, like the Utah curls were very in vogue. There's like a certain style that is very Mormon, and I was seeing it around Indianapolis. And then like some soda shops started showing up that are very Mormon coded, that you don't like started in Utah. And because Mormons are called often to be like very present on social media and to share the Mormon lifestyle and tenets in sneakier ways, the popularity of these have grown. I actually went to one. We wanted to try it out because we were like, these sodas seem crazy.
Oh, the soda shop.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God.
I was like, went to what?
No.
Like, when did you go to
went to the indie soda shop, and I mean, it was good, I guess. Like it wasn't terrible. I can't imagine drinking that every single day.
For context, if you don't know, Mormons have really strict rules about like caffeinated drinks and like what you can and cannot drink.
They have really strict rules, but they have loopholes.
Yes.
You're not supposed to drink caffeine, but specifically you're not supposed to drink hot caffeine. So they won't drink hot tea and they won't drink coffee. But they also don't drink like iced coffee or iced tea either. They just have decided that they can drink pop and that's fine. And so they have these like ungodly weird concoctions of like coffee creamer and Dr. Pepper and coconut cream and blah blah blah.
It gets really funky.
They just have this like insane, and like you think about the amount of sugar, it's like these big drinks too.
Yeah.
Crazy amounts of sugar, crazy amounts of caffeine.
It's worse for you than caffeine.
But somehow it's okay, and a plain cup of black coffee is the devil's drink. Like it makes no sense.
Yeah.
It is a loophole.
Oh, most definitely. And like and there's a lot of stuff with that. Well, there's the temple in Carmel.
I know, which freaked me out.
Yeah, and they have they have the trumpet of the
Gabriel,
of Mariah, I think, is what it is. But it's like the angel at the top, like playing the trumpet.
Yeah,
you're like, dude.
And it's like in this industrial park, so it comes out of nowhere, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, just interesting things, and again, I mean, I knew we were in for a bad time when you had Mike Pence, who called his wife Mother Pence. That was weird. That was
dude.
like, that's like the icing on the cherry on top of his already weird persona.
Super weird.
And beliefs. And then you've got Mother Pence. Like, ugh.
Yeah. Really weird stuff.
Terrifying.
Super weird stuff.
Again, I'm not enjoying my time living in the next Great Awakening. It's
weird, to say the least. And very strange.
I feel like for two relatively chill people, it's an odd moment.
Well, and then I think that the other thing is like you get an interesting infection, for lack of a better term, in my opinion, of the cults who then infect regular religion.
The affliction.
And, well, no, it's true.
Yeah.
Because, and then these religions have to find creative ways of dealing with it and making them not seem like the nut jobs, you know? But then you have people who are like sleeper agents inside of it who listen, especially with social media and stuff these days, where it's like, you don't know. It's not like you can go to the street corner and see your neighbor listening to the preacher and being like, oh, they come to my Methodist church, but they're listening to this person down the road.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you can't like word of mouth, like, oh, they're a follower of Ann Lee because I've seen them go into the really loud Quaker house.
Right, exactly. And then even if you are, like, they might confide in their friend who is states away, you know?
Yeah, and it's really troubling what some of these like fringe pastors are preaching, like that one guy who thinks that women shouldn't be out in public.
Yeah, man.
That's so weird.
Super controlling. And like a weird step back into, I don't even know what.
I'm going to say it. It's a weird step back into nothing because that's never been the case. Women have always been in the public eye.
Right. It's a weird step. A good step back into nothing is a good phrase for it because women have always been in the public eye, but it's also incredibly conservative.
Like even when you're looking at things like the cult of domesticity, which is this idea that women should be like the heart of the home.
Yeah.
They were never expected to not be seen in public. That would have been weird.
Right.
The home was their domain, but it's not like they weren't going to events.
Have you've seen this TikTok, but I think it's very funny and we should bring it up. It's the guy where he's like, I believe that a woman should stay at home. She should stay at home and have her time, take a bubble bath, take care of herself, and I should work. And it's like, okay.
No, because I was with you when we watched that, and I was like, I was about to be really mad. And frankly, I still didn't love it.
No.
Because you know what? I don't believe a man should believe in anything about me. Do you know what I mean? Like, mind your own damn business.
Yeah.
I'm minding mine. I'm not saying, oh, you should be anywhere in particular, because guess what? I don't care what you do as long as it's not impacting me and other people.
But you know what? This is a weird, I think this brings up something that I think, because I've had a conversation with someone about this, but where it's like the idea of liberty and like where you can do what you want, you know, given the freedoms as like, and have the freedom to do what you want, is in a lot of ways, like, I think that this religious movement is like, actually liberty is bad. Bad idea.
And when you mean the Shakers with like Ann Lee? Is
No,
that what
I
you're
mean
talking about?
I mean like the
or
fifth
like today.
like the fifth Great Awakening.
Yeah.
Where they're like, liberty, bad idea, and
No,
they'll be
fully.
like, we
they are
believe in
so not patriotic.
Right, because I think that like this is the problem with a lot of American dialect, I guess you could say, or like ways that you phrase things in America, is it's like there has been a great loss in the idea of what liberty and freedom mean and the difference between them in the American governmental system and the American lexicon, you know, between what those two words mean. And people be like, well, we'll believe in freedom, but then like the idea of liberty is gone completely, you know, and they've like overtaken things because like the idea of freedom and like especially like post-Civil War and like civil rights stuff has become such a big thing, you know. I don't know, and like people are taking that and manipulating it and turning it into this like, well, I believe in the freedom of people to do what they want, but it needs to be within the bounds of this or something like that, you know. And it's like really weird and controlling, in my opinion. It's bizarre, and I know that doesn't make sense, but if you look at it, it does, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm fully following.
Like they'll be like, well, people have the freedom. Like you'll see this. You'll see like conservative people do that. Well, I believe that people have the freedom to do what they want, but they shouldn't.
Yes, I think that's it. It's like the freedom is like that you technically could, but there is something that should stop you from doing it.
Exactly. And like they have no concept of liberty in the sense of it's like you can do what you want and you can. And you should do that.
Right.
Because you have the liberty to do so.
And that, like,
right,
it's a personal liberty.
Yes.
You can't be enforcing your own liberties onto other people.
Bingo. Exactly. Right. Right.
I almost can't even talk about this because it's so upsetting.
Well, I think it's an important thing to talk about.
No, I know. I agree. Yeah. I agree. It's just like there in a lot of ways, I know that you have stuff at stake here. There is so much more at stake for me.
Of course there is.
And it is so aggravating, irritating, humiliating, embarrassing, infuriating that like I'm having to deal with, like that any woman is having to deal with this.
Well, and you know what? This is my 2 cents as someone who doesn't have as much at stake. I have more of
You have an obligation.
I have more of an obligation. That's the word I'm looking for. I have more of an obligation to do something about it.
Exactly.
Right.
This is like so political today. Actually, I'm not sorry that it's political. I'm being like, whoa, we're really taking a tangent.
No, I mean, I think that this is political, but I think that you can't untangle the web in a lot of ways between what we're talking about and what this movie is discussing. And
well, the thing is that like what's happening today is that it's also about enforcement. It's the lack of liberty and also enforcing.
This is where this is where my like slippery slope sort of things come into play. Is it's like there's been so much like, yeah, the Mormons wanted to take over the United States and make it like kind of a theocracy and everything in a sense, but like would they have realistically achieved that? Absolutely not, you know. But now the levers of power with the way that they work within the governmental structure of the system, people have way more pull than they used to. It's not as rural, it's not as agrarian, but yet the system itself is agrarian, and the pulls that people have are so much more powerful, you know?
I think it's also like ignoring the fact that power, or like what you were saying, and by focusing just on today, ignores the way that power was spread before.
Yeah.
And how Utah is and honestly the West, different pockets of the West, Mormonism was enforced and required and violent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And while that's dulled down, and now a lot of Mormons are like, we were persecuted, our families were torn apart by the U.S. government, like, but it's ignoring the fact that Mormons were very violent to themselves.
Yeah.
There was, it wasn't, I don't know, sunshine and rainbows and everyone wanting to do what was being put forth by the prophets.
Right.
And so I think but there are still pockets where that's socially very dominant. And this is one of those really interesting things where power's kind of consolidated. Sure. But we're seeing states' rights and states' leaders taking a more prominent role again.
Yeah.
And when you have a state or several in that region that are more theocracies, that is a very interesting dynamic. And it's one of the reasons why I really like the theory about the Hunger Games, that the capital is Salt Lake City, and the capital citizens are Mormons who are like 300 or 400 years removed from the religion, but still retain the culture.
Yeah.
And Mormon, like, the capital culture is just the evolution of Mormon culture. I find that so fascinating.
It's totally
There's a really good
possible.
YouTube video that's like, I want to say maybe an hour plus in length, but I forget what it's called. But if you just look up like Hunger Game Mormon theory, I'm sure it'll pop up.
Yeah. The no, I agree, and I think that this there's an interesting case study about like what does that power look like, and like even like the Shakers themselves create a utopian society where like they have full control, Yeah,
and it's enforced pretty stringently. She never sees her niece again.
No.
That we see in the movie, at least. But
she
never
does.
She's never mentioned, and that. Not very chill, in my opinion.
No, she never sees them again, and like, and
it does play into the shunning culture, which you get in
witnesses.
Well, in Anabaptism,
I know.
when you're looking at like, Amish people and my great grandma had a beautiful ring that she received, and they were Mennonite. Well, her husband, the man that she married, was Mennonite. And so when she married him, she took that off and never wore it again, even though she loved it. Because you just did not wear jewelry. It was not acceptable. And you had to comply. There's a lot of compliance in these religions.
Yeah. No,
But on the flip side, I actually find like individualistic spiritualism to be as dangerous.
Yes. Why? I guess. I agree with you, but I want to know what you're thinking.
Well, when you lack structure and oversight, I think that that's also ripe for like culty behavior and an enforcing mindset of, I don't have a higher power because I am in touch with the higher power. Like, there's never anyone above me.
Yeah.
And there's no oversight. There's no checks and balances. It's just me saying what's true. And when you get into, rather than like interpreting, but defining, as opposed to like reading the Bible and being like, I think it says this. And someone else is like, well, I think it says this. And you're like, it's predicated on the idea that you didn't write what's being said, so you couldn't fully know. Like there's always a room for like, well, maybe.
Right.
Right. But also maybe this. But when you're the one being like, and here's my testimony, and I heard it directly from God, you get into trouble, because then there's no room for any kind of tolerance.
Yeah. Which does happen in this movie as well. Like, Abraham partially just goes along with it because he's like, what am I going to do?
Like, what am I going to say?
Right.
Yeah. Like, actually, I think God told me that we should be having sex. Specifically,
Yeah.
you should be going down on me.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
I heard that from
exactly.
God, actually.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, and I also think that when you start to get into a lot of individualism in general with religion, like, because religion itself is kind of a collective behavior, you know?
Yes.
And when you get into like radical individualism in religion, it starts to get into the like everything is true, so nothing is true.
And maybe I've just had a particularly
You know?
bad experience with people who are spiritual but not religious. But I just think that like
Mm-hmm.
people, in a lot of ways, if you're going to be religious, you need a community.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
No, I agree.
And some rules. I think that rules are actually really important when we're talking about religion.
Rules in general are not bad. I think that a lot of people, especially in this country, because of, again, like the freedom to do whatever you want sort of a thing, people view rules.
It's a free country.
Yeah, it's a free country. They can do what they want.
And you know what? In my free country, we comply with the social contract.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, like, I think that people, like, they view rules as a bad thing, when in reality, rules give structure to things, and, like, rules have always existed. Like, when humans have always lived in groups, people have always had rules, you know? And the reason those rules exist is because it helps define things for people.
And, like, there's an accepted standard of behavior for humans.
Right. Exactly.
It's what we think makes us more elevated than other animals.
Well, and like people, I think the other thing is it's like any communal animal has rules, and you can't, and like you don't deviate from those rules, and different groups of those, it might be the same species, but those different groups have different rules.
Right. Exactly.
And it exists.
And they're there usually for like a really valid reason.
Right. Like dogs have rules. If you look at dogs, and if they're and they're living in packs, they have rules. Wolves have rules. Elephants have rules. Like any communal structure has rules. And the reason is to keep the peace and make sure that we don't all kill each other. Like that's really what it comes down to, you know? And it's also to teach, like you have to teach things because you're not born knowing everything. And you never, and even right now, you don't know everything. You never will know everything. And those exist to help you learn those things. You know?
And this is a total side note, but I did not really get the whole, like, woman who was clothed by the sun.
Woman who was clothed by the sun thing?
Yeah, what did that mean?
I think that, from my understanding, what, there was a prophecy from the other woman that there would be a woman that the second coming of Jesus will be a woman clothed in the sun. And Ann Lee says, I saw myself clothed in the sun.
I see.
Saying,
I think I missed that part. Another
well,
thing that
and I don't think they explained it very well. I think that's just
Yeah.
from my understanding of Shaker. And I could be totally wrong on that.
Another
but
thing that I thought
think I
was
have it right.
interesting
Mhm.
about how they decided to portray what happened. Because, again, I don't think there's many records that we're really going for. And I don't think if they exist, I don't think they're, like, written during this time. I think they're, like, post.
The ones that exist of this time are people really complaining about them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it's very
didn't-
one-sided.
Again, they didn't make friends.
No.
But so when Anne first goes to the Shaking Quakers, the married couple
No,
who
you-
are hosting.
Hold on. You got to say it. It's the Shaking Quakers. You got to say it that way. Because that's
When
how...
Anne first goes to the Shaking
Shaking
Quakers.
Yeah.
You're saying it like it's Irish, though, and
They
they're
kind of talk
northern.
like that.
Anyway.
The Shaking Quakers. That's how they kind of talk.
Anyway. They have this, like, practiced routine where the husband starts, but then the woman takes over, and then they have the young man, and the man that we see is the guy who's attracted to his child sister. And then the group, like, starts breathing together, and, like, communal release really is what it seems like.
Yeah.
And so when they get to America, Anne and William do the same thing. Like, we see them recreate the same situation, and it feels incredibly manipulative when you see it played back.
Yeah.
Like, calculated. Maybe manipulative isn't the right word, because there's some connotations there, but it's very it becomes apparent like how calculated this is, and it made me think of those like tweets and whatnot of like Christians really just like live music and the emotional catharsis that you're feeling that you're attributing to God, especially in like the crying like churches, like the Jesus camp churches, is just the release of like being in a communal space, experiencing things together.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those like, oh yeah, this is like the long-standing tradition, at least in America, of calculated like communal catharsis as religious experience.
Well, and also I think that it shows, like, this is the thing that I think is interesting is Ann Lee did not come up with, she didn't pull this shit out of her ass. Like, she's learning this as she's going along. Like, she's saying, well, I saw a vision, I saw all of this. It's like she's learning from other people how to behave around the Shaking Quakers. And, like, the people who started the Shaking Quakers are, like, taking some of the foundations of the Quaker theology, but, like, they had ADHD and were like, dude, I gotta move. You know, like, I can't sit still.
I can't be quiet for forever.
I cannot be in this Quaker meeting hall. Like, like I can't do it, you know? And they're just like, well, let's try and, like, well, what about this? You know? And then they learn from another person. And then this is how beliefs are founded upon. Like, and I think you see that in the movie. It's like it starts off and it's, like, really weak theology. It's just kind of like, guys, we do stuff and then we move around. And then it forms... And
women can talk.
Right, and women can talk. And then it forms into this utopian society. And you're like, what the hell? Like, even in that... in the short, like, 20-year period.
And I have to say, you keep saying utopian, but, like...
It's utopian... It's technically a utopian society, but I think that people manipulate the word utopia into meaning, like, ideal.
Yeah.
Right, when it's really just, like, their ideal.
Yes, right. And that's what I wanted to, like, make clear is, like, the way that they're living would not be ideal for me. They're they're, in a lot of ways, they're very puritanical.
Right.
Like, simple living, you know.
I mean.
Not my cup of tea.
I think it brings, like, the.
Complex living. That's for me.
My dad and I were talking about this before we saw this movie where it's like, what is utopia really, you know? And, like, what does that mean? And you could make the argument that, like, the highly liberal society we're living in now is a sort of utopia, you know? That any extreme version of an ideal is utopia, you know? And, like...
Yeah.
What does that mean? You know? And, like, utopia is kind of a BS term anyways because it's unachievable.
Right.
You know, it's unachievable, but people will throw it around as if it's somehow possible when it's just not of any form.
Right. The whole concept.
Right. So, anyways, that's Ann Lee, everyone.
The testament of.
The testament of Ann Lee, because.
Bible.
Yes. Let me tell you about the testament of Ann Lee and the Shaking Quakers. But there you go. Let us know what you thought of it. You should watch this movie. It's really good.
Yeah, we liked it.
You should watch it. It's really good. You have your option. You can see Dracula if you're trying to cultivate horniness, or this one if you're trying to do the exact opposite.
Cultivate celibacy.
Yeah, cultivate celibacy. that's C number 4 is cultivate. we are cultivating celibacy. So
strong reactions to both.
Exactly. So anyways, let us know what you thought. If you have a Dear Maddie, we would love to hear it. Write us a comment. Let us know what you think. Be like, Dear Maddie.
Yeah, and let us
blah,
know,
blah, blah.
like, what's your gold standard for end credits?
What's your gold standard for end credits? What's your utopia? You know, let us know. Like, how are you cultivating celibacy? I need to know.
I actually don't want to know how you're cultivating horniness or celibacy. That's between you and God.
Well, I know, but people know how you're cultivating horniness through Dracula, so, you know.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I'm not really cultivating it. I would say that the actor, the editor, the director,
they're the cultivators.
They're the cultivators.
They're the cultivators.
I'm just like reaping the benefits of their cultivation.
Okay, I see. You're harvesting.
We're not harvesting horniness. No. Oh
no. You're out there in the fields plucking the carrots out of the ground.
Just the carrots.
The carrots. Horniness is carrots, guys. I don't know if you knew that. So
I need to leave. I think we're done.
That's it.
I think we're done forever, maybe.
Bye, everyone.